Welcome back to the show, guys. This is Today Africa, and I'm Ami Kassan. Today, I'm not going to talk about politics. I'm not going to talk too much. But like I said, Today Africa, we are trying to establish all across Africa and get opinions of people who lives in America, beginning all across. But the team in Gambia today came across a American born, and then he's now trying to transfer back to Africa. So he's going to tell us about his experience in America and at the same time in Africa and how he feels about the continent. So keep watching.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. Welcome back to our show, Today Africa podcast. Today in our midst, we have a very important person I want to introduce to you. He is one of our African brothers that is returning back home. He's a brother that has been all his life in the US, but I don't want to say much about him. I think I have some few questions that he's going to tell me about his experience in Africa and all that. It's no other person but Dr. Ameer Akinwale Ali. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
So Ali, I'm so glad to meet you. It's an honor. And we are so excited to have our brothers coming back home. But the thing I want to know is what actually brought you to Africa, and is it your first time?
Well, this Africa experience started maybe around 8 years old. So when you grow up in the U.S., you see all these derogatory things about Africa. And you know, my mommy, she weighed probably about 45 kilos, and she was a little, strong black African woman, which y'all call Black Americans. And by the way, we don't call ourselves Black Americans. On my birth certificate, it says African American, which means Africans born in America. So black people in America don't call themselves Black Americans.
So if you are born in America, they don't call you American straight. It has to be Black American.
It'd have to be African American.
African
So
American.
everyone goes by their ethnic group. If I'm Italian, I'm saying I'm Italian American. If I'm Spain, if I'm German, on my birth certificate it says German American. It just doesn't say American. America is a nationality, and most Africans don't know the difference between nationality and ethnic history. So the way y'all describe us, y'all say, oh, those Americans. That's the nation I was born in. It is, so it's like a white British person coming to Sierra Leone or coming to Gambia, and they British and they have a baby. Is the baby Gambian or is he British? So, but let me get back to what I'm saying. So this started way back in the 70s, maybe around 75, when I was around 6 years old. 75, I was 7 years old. I'm looking at Tarzan, and Tarzan is a stereotypical white man that rules all of the Africa. One white man rules the whole continent, and you know, but he's always beating up the Africans. So my concept of Africa started then, and it was my mother. And my mother didn't say it quite this way, because my mother was born in what y'all would call the provinces. We call it the country or the rural area. So her educational level was like the 8th grade or 6th grade. But she told me the only difference between me and an African born in Africa is that I was born in the diaspora, which means away from Africa because of slavery. And they had a chance to be born at home. It's like a lion born in the zoo and a lion born in the jungle. You know, only difference is both of the lions know they lions. But you know, Africa, so now he ain't a lion like us, because he was born in the zoo. And the zoo nicer than the jungle. So that right there is where my first conceptual understanding of Africa began. And over the years, going in the university, meeting the African students from Nigeria, Senegal, Ivory Coast, South Africa, my relationship and my understanding of me as an African grew. So my first trip to Africa was in 1999.
Wow.
Yes, about 24 years ago.
What country?
My first trip
Yeah.
was in June of 1999, and I was there doing research. I was a graduate student at St. Louis University in the state of Missouri, working on a master's in clinical social work. So I did research on the African family
Okay.
and the African American family and the comparative study between how Africans and Americans live, which y'all call African Americans, and the Africans on the continent. So that study was a 3-month study in the country of Ghana. So every day in the country of Ghana, I was taught to put on traditional.
Okay, so your first visit was in Ghana?
Yes.
So what do you think about Africa?
What you mean with that?
I mean, like, how do you feel about being in Africa? How do you see Africa as compared to America, where you've spent almost all your life?
See, once you understand, most Africans really don't know the history of America. So they look at America and say it's a great place. But most Africans don't see America the way Africans born in America. Y'all see it as an opportunity. Just because you didn't spend 400 years there being raped, being killed, being destroyed. So the way I look at Africa, I look at Africa as a victim. I love Africa. I look at Africa as my mother. And if someone rape your mother and destroy your mother, you will always love your mother. You understand? So my ancestors were brought to America against their will. They didn't want to come like y'all want to come. Most, oh yeah, I go to. Our ancestors didn't come to Africa looking for a better way of life. They were forced to go there against their will. So the way I see Africa, it's the greatest place in the world. To me, it's the place that I can come and be who I am as an African and not be killed because I'm black, not be shot because I'm black, not to be discriminated against.
Totally at home.
I'm telling you, it's like a fish.
And in fact, when you're here, nobody knows the difference that you are coming back.
But look at it like this. You got a fish that's born in a fish aquarium. And you have a big fish that's born in the ocean.
And you know, the only way I get to know you are from the US or something is when you speak. That's how I would tell. Because if they look at you just like this, especially because we are staying in the Gambia now, yeah? When they see you, you look like one Gambian or one Senegalese.
but my question is, how do we supposed to look? So my ancestors was African. Do I supposed to look European? Do I supposed to look like I'm from Spain? Do I supposed to look like I'm from Germany? How do I supposed to look? So that's like saying, another lion saying, I can't believe you a lion like me. My mama was a lion that came from the jungle or came from the bush. And yeah, but it's a consciousness.
Okay, is this your second time, third time of being in Africa?
I have been to Africa in and out 23 times.
Okay.
So I'm to the point, like, yeah, 23 times. I've been to Ghana, I've been to Ivory Coast, I've been to Burkina Faso. Of course, I've been to Senegal. I have been to Sierra Leone. Yeah, I've been to Sierra Leone.
Okay.
And I've been to, of course, I live here in the Gambia. Where else I've been? I've been to Togo.
So how long have you been in the Gambia?
I've been in the Gambia about a year and 4 months.
Okay. You just mentioned Sierra Leone. Can you tell me what exactly do you know about Sierra Leone?
I know, believe it or not, I actually know the history of Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone and Liberia are like sister cities. Why are they sister cities? Because Liberia, I know for a fact, is the only country in Africa that grants African American citizenship automatically. So if I go to Sierra Leone, so I want to become citizen, it is in their constitution to grant us citizenships. Why? Because the people in Liberia come directly from America. So you have two Liberians. You got Liberian and you got Liberian Americans. The Liberian Americans are the people that found the country of Liberia because they brought 200,000. I said they brought 200,000 Africans that were taken in slavery back to Liberia. Sierra Leone is the same way. Sierra Leone was established by the British in the 1800s to return the slaves that were taken to slavery after they took the slaves from these parts of the world.
Okay, so you actually know that Sierra Leone also suffered from the slave trade.
Yes.
That some of the...
And it's the first country they stopped the slave trade in.
Okay.
They shot. That's why you don't have slave castles. Good evening. Give me a minute. We're doing an interview. Yes. So Sierra Leone, not only did they stop the slave trade, they also took dynamite and blew up the slave castles in Sierra Leone because they wanted to erase all the things of it. So yes, I know Sierra Leone, the country, suffered from slavery, but the British controlled Sierra Leone. This is why they was able to carve it out and make it an independent nation
Yeah, I
protected by
think
the
some
British.
of the slaves that were tortured and returned back home. I think we have the like Sheikh Bekir and all this stuff like that. So do you think you would love to come to Sierra Leone someday?
Oh yeah, I would love to go. I want to go to all 54 countries on the continent of Africa. I have no desire to go to London. I have no desire to go to France. I have no desire to go to Holland, even though I've been there. I have no desire to be to Amsterdam. I have no desire to be in Germany. I've been there. I have no desire to be in France. I have lost nothing in those countries.
So you are a typical African man.
No, I don't.
You know,
why would I want to go to a place that has raped, murdered, killed, and maimed all my people? What do I have to say to them? Oh, thank you for colonizing Senegal. Oh, thank you for causing a civil war in Rwanda where millions of people died. What I want to go to them for? I have no love for them. My mind is not like that. Why would I want to go to someone and rape my mother? Oh, I want to go see the people who raped my mama. The people who killed my father and raped my mother, I want to see them and enjoy their wealth. No, I don't.
You know, when I talk to you, I can really see the passion you have for Africa. The way you know, the aspiration you have, you know. But the thing I want to know, are you here to settle for good or you are going back? Or what
I am here to settle for good, but I would have to go back to get money. You know, so I have to go to America and chop money. It is my desire to spend the next 80 years of my life here. Why? That's like asking a fish who was born in the fish aquarium. Would you prefer to stay in the fish aquarium in this artificial environment where people feed you and control you? They control the lights, they control the bubbles, they control everything. Or go back to the ocean where you can be yourself and live in peace.
Have you decided where you want to settle in Africa when you come back?
You know, I wanted to live in Ghana because my experiences in Ghana. But I believe God has brought me to the Gambia. Why? One, because I believe in Islam. Two, I believe that Gambia is open for business. I believe that Gambia has the capacity and the room to grow. Where, you know, just like in Ghana, they tore down these Africans from the diaspora, African Americans' house over the politics. I believe here in the Gambia, if you move away, get you an area, you will be okay. But I think it's open for.
So you finally, sorry to cut you. You finally made up your mind that you want to settle in Gambia, or you're still contemplating on?
I mean, I've been in about 6 different countries. Believe it or not, contrary to what most Africans believe, it's pretty much all the same. I mean, Gambia is no different from Sierra Leone. The people might be a little different, but the geopolitical location environment is pretty much the same. Ghana, you know, Nigeria, I mean, you got corruption in every country.
Okay, so if you are to give a message to people that are living on the continent, like blacks that are living on the continent, or Africans that are living on the continent, and Africans that are living in the UK, Europe, or the US, what would be your advice to them, or what would be like a word that you want to pass on to them?
What I would tell all Africans that lives in the US, Africans that live in the UK, Africans that live in all of Europe, or anywhere in the world, we have to practice Pan-Africanism. But let me be more specific. Africa has no friends. Everyone that came to Africa, from the Arabs to the Europeans, have exploited Africa. And it is only Africa that's going to liberate Africa. Africans can't be dependent on no one else. Africa has to stop running. You know, medical doctors, when they graduate from the medical schools here, Europeans come and buy them. Say, hey, you're a medical doctor, come here to Germany. And the people in the village that encouraged him to go to school to become a medical doctor never benefits from his knowledge.
No, exactly. Sorry to say this, because what I notice is it's not as if we are not getting medical doctors that have been raised growing up, but most of them, like when they get their, how do I say, their diplomas, their certificates, you understand?
They leave.
They will leave. They'll
You know
have
what that's
to go.
called?
What's it?
It's called brain drain. This is because African children are not taught Pan-Africanism. African children are not. See, we talk from a capitalist. I don't think Africa needs to be capitalist. Capitalism is the #1 problem with Africa because of greed. Africa needs to go back to the traditional system. It's called Afro-communalism, where we grow our own food and we share everything. And one person don't be here living in a house worth $3 million, and you got 5,000 people living in a swamp. So until we change our mentality, we think we can build Africa up like Europe. Do you know Europe raped and killed millions of Africans to be rich? Do you know, people say, I want Africa to be like America. America had 400 years of slavery, free. Can you imagine you coming to America working 400 years free? America raped people to be free. This is the history that the Europeans don't want us to talk about in America. They get angry when we mention our history.
So I think I'm happy that you are trying to throw light on this, because I believe most of your brothers and sisters are way back in the US, UK, in Europe, or wherever in the diaspora. I believe they need to hear this, because I was talking to a friend the other day. She was telling me that people who are living in those places, especially you that are born there, some of you guys believe that Africa is still a zoo where they eat humans, where you are not safe if you come to Africa. I don't know. Maybe you need to throw a light.
We do. You know, I do that.
Yeah.
It's many Africans born in America, what you call black Americans, that do that. But the problem becomes, is like y'all have here. Y'all have colonial minds here. We have European minds in America. So if you take let's use the lion again. If you take a baby lion and grow him up in the zoo, and you artificially feed him and program his mind, who do we think like? The person who programmed his mind. And then you show him on TV the jungle, where it's savagery at. So everything you see on TV about Africa, you know, you from Sierra Leone, when the Ebola virus broke out, I was going to Ghana. You should have heard all the quote-unquote black Americans say, oh, you going to Africa, they got Ebola there. Or you going to Africa, they dying of AIDS. All these negative things about Africa. Growing up in America, you used to have little children. Feed Abdullah. Abdullah lives on a dime per day. They have a little bony child with flies flying all around him. He looks sick, and the village behind him. So these are the images they put in the mind of African Americans.
So basically what you're trying to say is that we are still in slavery and we are not even aware of it.
Listen to me. Those who won't treat you right will not educate you right. You understand? So you allowing the same person that took your grandmama to educate you. You think they're going to tell you the truth? The same people who rape you, the same people who bring you in slavery, are the same people who teach you. They teach us in America that they found our ancestors in Africa in the jungle, butt naked with a bone in their nose. I'm serious. They have cartoons in America with black Africans, bald head, and I can show you some of these some days, with bones in their nose, running around and teaching. They got, go on YouTube, man. Africans eat people. Who put that on YouTube? Do Africans put that on YouTube or white folks? So I mean, the reality of the situation, why would you expect the people who have abused you and exploited you and took advantage of you to treat you right and do you right and educate you right? They teach you to love the place they took your ancestors. They teach you in America you ought to be, some Africans say you ought to be thankful that your ancestors went in slavery. And I said stuff out loud. And it's very disrespectful. Because it's easy for you to say that when you sit up here and you comfortable and I got this in and that, but if you was the one being sodomized or you was the one being raped or killed, you know, it's disrespectful to them. You know, and I resent that. I resent Africans got the nerves to tell me, no, I'm not an African. Who the hell are you? Where was you at when my grandfather, my great-great-grandfather was snatched on a slave ship, suffering through pain, being whipped and working all day, and then you look at the son that come from him, you say, oh, he's not African. Don't get me started. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Ali. One last thing, like seriously, I really want you to like tell our people here, so at least they will understand how it is, how you guys feel like coming back home, so we'll understand how to treat you and welcome you as if you are just part of us again. since like we have lost our brothers and sisters and they want to come back home. So we need to welcome them back. So Dr. Ali, I think I want you to throw a light on that as well, please.
I think that you need to understand, when you see a quote-unquote black American that has spent all his life saving to return home, you need to understand they have a love for Africa beyond belief. You know, people get off the plane and kiss the ground here. You don't care nothing of, some Africans will leave this place, they care nothing about it. But if they understood what happens in America and in Europe and how people die just for being black, they'll appreciate this place. So when they come home, welcome them home. Welcome them home.
So guys, you've watched the video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. So this is it. We keep doing this until the continent becomes something better for Africans. So thank you. See you on the next video.